Hey, welcome Broken World Entertainment, and this will be our non-spoiler, that's right, non-spoiler, no spoilers at all, review for Dune Part 2. Is it the masterpiece they say? Does it live up to the hype? Do we get massive battles, and does it actually have an ending this time? Well, let's jump to the ending. Again, I won't spoil it. In terms of how the first one ends, does this one have an ending? Kind of. It's, again, I'm not going to spoil it, but the story for this movie does conclude, but the movie does once again just cut off, which is quite frustrating. Not as badly as the first one though, so it's not like you're waiting to see the next scene happen. It just kind of stops. It's frustrating, but again, it's not as frustrating as the first movie. Now, in terms of does it live up to the hype? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense of the story is flushed out. There is more character development. The visuals are fantastic. The acting is fantastic, with the exception of one, and the story moves forward in quite an interesting way. Now, from what I understand, in the books, this story is actually across 6 years. However, in the movie, it's across 3 months. It's either across 3 months, but the books is 6 years, or it's the other way around. This is through 6 months, and in the books it's 3 years. I think it's the 6 years in the book though, and 3 months in this. And a lot of the people who read the books took issue, or are taking issue with this, being that there's certain characters left out and there's plot points kind of left out. But of course, you're under the constraints of a movie, so you don't really have that much options to kind of put that stuff in. When it comes to the acting, as I said, there is an exception. The exception is Zendaya. She is terrible. I'm sorry, I know she's got many fans and stuff, but I don't get it. Her facial expression practically never changes in the movie. She's definitely the weak link in terms of the acting. You know, she's very miscast in this. Like, if you see how she acts in Spider-Man, it's essentially the exact same, just in the desert. So she's the weak link. Christopher Walken as the Emperor is good. Barely in it though. That is the one criticism I have for it, is some of the names they were kind of showing you, like Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken, and even what's his name, Butler dude, Austin Butler. He is in it a good chunk once he gets into the movie, but it takes quite a while before he actually comes into the movie. The music this time around again is like epic. It's just, it envelops you when it hits. Again, the special effects are fantastic. There's one or two wonky kind of bits, but that's, it's fine. It's nowhere near like a Marvel movie or a DC movie or half the movies that are put out there now. One thing people were worried about and confused about was the black and white part. That's not actually the whole story with that. What it is the planet. It's what are they called? Fairmans. They've got a black sun. So when you're out in the sun, everything looks black and white. But once they're inside and stuff, it's in color. So that's why you see black and white in there. As for Austin Butler's character, he is ruthless. Like, he's the younger brother of Batista's character and the nephew of Stellan Skarsgård, his character. Josh Brolin, again, very little of him. Does good when he's in it, but very little of him. It's way into the movie before he shows up. um, for me, everyone's kind of really praising Austin Butler as and Javier Bardem as the big players for this movie. And I agree, those two are fantastic in the movie. But for me, I think the MVP of this movie was Rebecca Ferguson. She kind of, yeah, her character, we'll just say, grows a lot and in an unexpected way, kind of. There are some scenes in the movie that are a little jarring because it kind of, they're doing one thing and the next moment they're doing something else or in a different area, and you're kind of, did you edit it that way to cut the time down, or is that how you actually filmed it? It's a little bit weird. I'll give you a quick example. 1 minute, Zendaya's character and a few others are on their way to the south, and the next thing they're coming down on one of those helicopter things. What are they called? I'm not sure what they're called. They're like the Firefly Oaks. And immediately I'm like, wait a minute, you were just on the word. How did you get one of them? There's probably an explanation for it through Josh Brolin's character, but whatever. It's just little tiny bits like that that kind of catch you off guard a small bit. As for the story, it's very much about Paul being a very reluctant leader. We know he didn't want to be the leader in the first movie, and this one is very much so them trying to convince him that he's the Messiah and him trying to convince them that he's not. And he's very much the reluctant leader. Now, here's the one major thing for does it live up to the hype and stuff that people are praising. The big battle scene, which of course is in the trailer and whatnot. The thing about that is you might want to bring back your expectations from it. It is epic when it happens. It's incredibly short. And I do mean incredibly short. It's probably less than 5 minutes of screen time. There's next to nothing on the outside in terms of like out on the battlefield. It kind of, as soon as that kind of starts, you're jumping indoors. So although it's epic in scale, it looks fantastic and you're expecting this great big battle, and there is kind of, it's just not what you expect. So when you're hearing people compare it to the Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, which is happening for some reason, yeah, no, it's not. You know, it's not the Battle of Helm's Deep, not even close. Yeah, it's, I'm trying to think of how long the actual battle is, and it's, there's no, actually, I'm trying not to spoil it either. It's more so the worms, because we see this in the trailer, and you get that epic shot of the troops kind of walking, looking at the storm, and the worms just come out of it. It kind of goes from that to the kind of, it's almost like a palace of some sort that the Emperor comes down in, and that's pretty much what we get of that actual war outside. There's a few other things happening here and there, but you do not get this massive battle that they were kind of promising you. You know, they were kind of saying this one's the war movie. It's not really. It's more kind of hit and runs here and there from like the beginning up to that point where they're taking out the spice collectors. They're coming down trying to take the spices, and they keep doing these surprise attacks on them. But other than that, like, it's still epic in scope and stuff from what you see of it. It's just very short. So if you're expecting a crap ton of Austin Butler or even Christopher Walken in it, and a big massive battle, you're probably going to be a little disappointed because there's very little Christopher Walken. A good chunk of Austin Butler, but it takes a good while before he comes into it. Florence Pugh, again, she's kind of sporadically through it, but there's not a hell of a lot of her. But in terms of the story is great this time. I think, though, I still kind of probably prefer the first one. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to watch it again to really make up, do I prefer the first one or this one. It'd be very interesting to watch the two of them back to back as the way they want you to do it. The other thing is, we know Denis Villeneuve has said that he is going to start working on part 3, which he says is Messiah. However, there is now suggestion that he's saying he's not going to film it for the next 10 years. And people are going, what the hell would you do that? And the reason is because the time gap from the end of this story to the next book is 15 years. Now, they're obviously not going to wait that long, but there's a reason for that. If this smashes the box office, they're obviously going to push it to be done sooner. If that's the case, they might have to, with some of them, either recast or somehow try and age them up. You know, for all the de-aging technology that they're implementing in movies, we might have to go the opposite way and age them up. But other than that, I would highly recommend it. Definitely see it on the big screen, because once again, when you're getting these epic shots, but when the music kicks in with these shots, it just envelops you and it's just like, wow. So highly recommend it. Not absolutely perfect. You know, there's definitely nitpicks and issues. Zendaya is one. The lack of the battle is another. And the way it ends, again, you know, there's a bit more, but again, I'm not spoiling anything. So I would recommend it. I'd probably give this probably about an 8.5 out of 10. So at least we have something decent to go and see on the big screen. And it's really the first major movie that's come out this year, which is crazy as well. I don't think we can class Madam Web as a major movie. It was never going to be. But anyway, there you go. There's your non-spoiler review and somewhat breakdown of Dune Part 2. So, with that, like and share and subscribe and all that good stuff. Again, there's merch and memberships and whatnot if you're interested. And with that, I will leave it there for this one. So cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.